The Great Wheel by Robert Lawson. Chapter 1. He was christened Cornelius Terence Kilroy, but to most he was known only as Con. Only Father Riley ever called him Cornelius. His mother called him Connie, Aunt Honora called him Neil, and Grandfather Giblin seldom called him anything. In fact, Grandfather Gildem seldom really spoke at all. He just mumbled and grumbled at the smoldering peat fire and sucked away at his clay pipe, which sometimes was lit, but usually was not. When Con was 12 years old, Aunt Honora read his fortune from the tea leaves in his cup. She was very old, even then, and the village considered her a wise woman. "Neil, lad," she said, peering into the cup, "mind well what I'm telling you now. Your fortune lies to the west. Keep your face to the sunset and follow the evening star, and one day you'll ride the greatest wheel in all the world." His mother paused in her knitting. "Not my Connie, Honora," she said worriedly. "Not him too. West lies America, and must America forever be taking all our fine young men? My brothers Patrick and Michael, your son Dennis, and him gone to California, and likely scalped by the heathen Red Indian savages. The way you've not had a letter from him for a year come Christmas. What's to become of poor Ireland, and the Kilroys, with all their men gone to America? Sure, America's worse than the wars or the Black Famine, the way it devours our men." "Whisht now," Aunt Honora said placidly, "and don't be talking down the fair young lad. Your brother's fortunes lay to the west like I read in the tea leaves, and they've been great good fortunes. Haven't they prospered and flourished? What with Michael living in an elegant flat house in New York, with 6 daughters and a bathroom? Haven't they sent you the grand presents and money, the way you've been able to buy the red cow and erect a handsome stone for your man, God rest him, in the churchyard at Ballyneedon?" But Con's mother refused to be comforted. "I'd liefer have 'em back than a herd of stamping red cows and all the presents of Babylon or India," she cried. "And what's this blether about my Connie riding a great wheel? It's a circus man you'd make of him, or a strolling player, performing like a monkey at village fairs on a bicycle or something?" "I can only read what's in the leaves," Aunt Honora answered. "Take it or leave it, or like it or not, it's what will be." "And why wouldn't he go to America?" piped up Grandfather from the chimney corner. "Would you have him spendin' the days of his life cutting peat in old Gallagher's bog, when he could be walking the shiny streets of America wearing shoes every day, and maybe with a bathroom of his own? If I were a bit younger, I'd be boarding a ship this minute, I would, with a bundle on my shoulder and high hopes in the heart of me." Being only 12 at the time, Con did not worry his head much about Aunt Honora's prophecy. A lusty young lad then, frisky as a colt, and the equal of any of the village young ones at running, leaping, or putting the stone, but not much given to thinking. As the years went by, though, he more and more frequently paused of an evening and gazed into the west, over beyond Kilda Point, where the sun was dropping into the purple sea. And as the sky faded from gold to green and finally to dusky blue, and the great evening star suddenly began to wink and beckon, the words of his old aunt would recur to him. "Your fortune lies to the west, lad. Keep your face to the sunset and follow the evening star." Well, maybe he would, and maybe he wouldn't. America and his fortune were calling across the darkening waters, but the call was only a faint one as yet. And what that wheel part was all about he had no notion at all. The biggest wheel he had ever seen was on Mr. Gallagher's peat cart, and that barely breast high. Con was almost 18 when Father Riley brought the letter. It had been given him by Seamus, the post, both to save himself a few steps, and because Father Riley would have to read it to the family anyway. The arrival of a letter, especially from America, was an event in the village. The Kilroy family crowded the small room, mother all aflutter, grandfather in the chimney corner, cackling and scolding, Aunt Honora hastily summoned from her home next door. Con leaned by the open door. The younger children, Willa, Stelly, Danny, Agnes, Martin, and Kathleen, sat where they could. A few of the neighbors squeezed in the doorway. Father Riley hitched his stool closer to the small window, put on his glasses, admonished the squirming children with a stern glance, and opened the letter. "'Tis for you, Mary Kate," he said. "I have read it, and it contains no bad news whatsoever, God be praised. 'Tis from your brother Michael in New York. I will read it now. My dear Mary Kate, I take pen in hand to inform you that we are all well and flourishing, the saints be praised. The good wife and all 6 girls are in the best of health, barring a few cases of measles, chicken pox, croup, colds, rheumatism, and the mumps. My business grows and progresses in a wonderful manner. In recent years I have built more sewers than are in the whole of Ireland, bless the dear country, to say nothing of drains, culverts, curbing, and sidewalks without number. The city of New York is a great and growing place, and the Michael Giblin Contracting Company, Incorporated, is growing just as fast. I employ almost 300 now, all good Mayo men, with the scattering from Roscommon and Clare. But I am sore vexed in my mind for a lack of a partner to assist me. The burden of managing all this is becoming too heavy for my shoulders alone. Our brother Patrick is the one should be at my side, but he is not of a mind for it. As you know, he is a roamer born, not one to settle down to a steady business. Not that I would disparage our own, for he has grown a fine, handsome man, with the voice of old Gallagher's bull and a great mattress of a red beard, would do a general proud. A fine upstanding man, our James, but bewitched by a madman of an engineer, the way he follows him from here to yonder, building tunnels and bridges in wild far off places like Pittsburgh and Kansas City and Kentucky. So, dear sister, I am turning to you in my perplexity. Your Cornelius should be near grown a man by now, and with the blood of the Kilroys and Giblins both in his veins, should be a smart one. Let you send him to me, Mary Kate, to take the place, for a while, of the son I've never had. 'Tis a chance would come to few, but America is the land of opportunity, and what opportunity has a lad digging peat for old Gallagher his life long, but a bent back and the rheumatics for his old age. A year or so of learning the trade, I pledge you, your lad'll never set hand to pick or shovel again, but be wearing polished boots and a derby hat, riding his own buggy and overseeing great works. And who knows but one day the firm may be boasting the proud name of Giblin and Kilroy Incorporated. I have sent a draft for $500 to Martin Sheridan, the banker man in Galway. Father Riley can draw on it to buy the lad's passage and a suit of new clothing. The rest is for you and your brood, with a bit for a few masses for your good man, may he rest in peace. I know the thought will wrench your heart, Mary Kate, but you must be thinking of the lad's future and of my crying need. May God and his angels keep you and yours, is the dearest wish of your loving brother, Michael James Giblin. As Father Riley finished, the room rocked with a great uproar. Mother weeping protest, Aunt Honora acclaiming the fulfillment of her prophecy, Grandfather Giblin, who had heard none of it, screeching questions. The children screamed. The neighbors shouted the news all down the street. Con, whom it really concerned the most, quietly slipped out and made his way to his favorite seat on the stone wall overlooking the bay. The setting sun set his coppery hair all aglow, and washed his blue eyes to a pale sea green. His fortune was calling loudly now. The shimmering golden road to the west spread before him. His heart leaped with the thrill of great changes to come. He became aware of a kindly hand on his shoulder. "'Tis all settled, lad," the priest said. "We will leave with the dawning. Partings are best done with quickly."